All right, fellas, ladies, let's talk about this one. All this talk about beds and whatnot, why is it important? Why do I need to know where they're bedding? Why can't I kill them where they're feeding? Why can't I kill them where they're traveling? You can. The important thing about knowing where they're bedding, when they're bedding there, and knowing if it's a mature buck bedding there is because you might have 90% of the year, you might have 15 to 30 minutes of daylight, shooting light anyway, that buck's going to move in. We talked about this before. It's a different animal, and he likes to move in the dark. He's not going to get up until he's ready to get up whenever he feels like he's got enough seclusion around him to get up. A lot of these bucks, you can catch them coming back to bed early in the morning, but a lot of them will bed before it gets daylight, especially if they've been hunted. If they've been pressured, I can guarantee you they're going to bed before it gets daylight. And they're not going to get up until last shooting light. That's why so many times you hear the old story, boy, it was right at dark and here he come. Well, that's for a reason. He's not comfortable till then. So I believe myself that knowing where they live is one of the biggest things that you can put in your quiver against them. I do think that when the rut hits, some of those high traffic areas are a better spot. If you can find where 3 or 4 points come together, another point across from it, or especially if you can find a connecting ridge, I call it. You get 2 main ridges running and you find a ridge that connects them. That's a spot to be right there, I can promise you that. Whenever they do get to chasing does and you want to hunt the does, you just want to hold off the trigger. You get some does around you, especially if you're somewhere where they're comfortable to lay down for a little while. You've got live decoy. You ain't got to worry about your scent as much, because that's the scent he's looking for. When he gets a nose full of that, that's all his mind's going to be on. It's a good thing to have them around you and to be in there where deer are comfortable. So watch your traveling areas. Those are good places during the rut. Coming up to the rut, whenever I'm out there in the woods, I'm usually more doing homework than I am hunting. I've got stands I know I can kill does out of, get a little trigger itch, a little meat in the freezer. Everybody likes that first one of the season, some fresh loin, but I would have to say that up until at least the last 10 days, if not the last 5 days of October, I'm scouting whenever I'm hunting. I'm not out there with any expectations to be dragging one home. That's just me. I like to play it safe and stay back off of them, but I'm all the time watching what they're doing and keeping up with what they're doing and where they're going. So that's why I feel that bedding is important, and I think it's the biggest thing that can help you. All right, y'all. Morning, afternoon, whatever. We talked the other day about buck beds and how to find them and their characteristics. Now let's talk a little bit about when the rules change come rut time. We all know that everything's out the window whenever the rut hits. I mean, that right there is why we all love to hunt it, because it can happen anytime and anything can happen. There's some crazy hunts that happen during the rut. They will move their beds. They'll vacate those beds they use year round, and they'll move out to around where doe beds are. If they can get up on the hill kind of like they will, but if not, you can guarantee they're going to be on the downwind side. You will catch them on their feet late morning through the middle of the day whenever, they know most of the deer are bedded up. They know those does are laid up for the day. That's when you'll catch them circling. They may not move far. They may just move between one doe bedding area to another and bed back down until they get to moving. One thing to remember is if you get one or more hot does in an area, you might want to watch pushing in close to those bedded bucks, because there's liable to be anywhere, one, and there may be 8 or 9 in there. I seen a hot doe late one time, and it had 8 different bucks behind it. Every one of them were shooters, and probably had 2 of the biggest bucks I've ever seen on hoof behind it. So, you think about it, it's been a year for them. Some of you railroaders know what it's like after 8 days. If you can imagine, waiting for a whole year. I always said that's why you see a lot of them does got a big tore up ear. Once he finally gets a hold of her, he'll grab hold of that ear and make sure she can't get away. You know how that is. So that's definitely the thing that drives them that time of year. Food takes a back seat. I don't worry about any kind of food source during the rut. I just try to think like an old buck on the prowl. You get in there on those bedded does and run them out, you know, they're liable to go bed somewhere else and mesh hole spot it. You gotta be careful about it. Catch those mornings when you know they're gonna be out there feeding late, and then try to move in too close to those bedding areas and find your main trails into them and try to hunt on the downwind side of those, and it's a good idea to set them all day. You know, there's certain times of year whenever, you know, setting all day is just the way to do it. It's paid off for me before. I killed one, I think it was 11:36 in the morning. That was day 4. I was sitting daylight till dark, and it was the second time I had him in my sights. I've killed another one just after 2 in the afternoon doing the same thing. It was the third day of sitting all day, and you know, it's easy to be sitting in that stand and, you know, you ain't seeing much, and you know, lunchtime's rolling around and you're getting kind of bored. It's easy to crawl down out of there, but first couple times you get busted by the one you're waiting on crawling down that late, you know, it makes it a lot easier to sit till noon. So I got a bad habit of thinking, well, he's just gonna be older, you know, if I don't get him this year. But I get one that really gets underneath my skin. You know, I'm liable to sit all day the whole week I'm home. So used to, I felt like all year I had to be out there in the stand every day I was off, and I used to be. I found out that was probably doing more harm than good, but that's just one of the phases of coming up and being a bow hunter that, you know, you go through. Some of y'all same way. No matter if it's 80 degrees, you're gonna be in one of your spots, and that's fine. You know, that's the only way you learn is to be out there with them. But there's a lot of phases that come through with it until you try to start figuring out how they think, and you never quit learning. I mean, it always comes back around to what are they doing at this time. You guys will stay tuned in. We're gonna be here to walk you through the different phases. You know, it's kind of different in Missouri, in our area especially, than it is other places. We'll let you know, when some of those days you need to be sitting all day's coming. I had somebody ask me, I thought you was a big bow hunter. I said, well, I never claimed to be a big bow hunter. I just love to bow hunt. And they said, well, why ain't you taking off work? They apparently, just because it's bow season, you're supposed to be taking off work. I prefer to have my call-in sick days, whenever the hunting's a little better. When it at least get cold weather and they start to get on their feet some. You get them last few days of October, I may be MIA a little bit, but come September, I'm not going to get too worked up about making sure I'm in a tree somewhere. So save those spots, watch those does while you're out there this season hunting early. Watch where they're coming and going from. You get out there early enough in the afternoon, you can get an eye on them as they start to walk out to your fields while they're still on grass, and you can get an idea about where they're bedding from. Find your trails on a rainy day with a good wind, slip in there, find the beaten paths. If you can find 2 or 3 different paths where they all come together going into one, one thick bottom or one thick hillside, a bunch of treetops, something like that, it's a pretty good indication that's where, she's bedding at. You will have what's some people call, whenever your bucks start bedding up, even on their home turf beds, you will have, some guys call them a satellite buck, some guys call them a spotter. It's another buck. They tolerate each other because that's another set of eyes, another set of ears, and another nose right there in that area. They're helping each other watch out for predators and watch out for me and you. So just remember, the rules change all year long. It's different once they get pressured. It's different once the rut comes in. We're fixing to come up on the second week of bow season. We get this cool front coming in towards the end of next week, and everybody gets out there and stirs around. There's a pretty good chance that all the deer around you are going to know it's deer season. So it's a pretty good time to start changing the way you're doing some hunting. So be watching, and we'll walk you through some of that, and we'll be talking to you all after a while. Thank you.